So today in class we were talking about adding mixed numbers. So we're just going to do a quick review of it and looking at three different problems. So first we need to remember that a mixed number is a number that includes a fraction and a whole number. Okay, so for example, we might have something like 3 and 5/8 plus 2 and 1/8. Okay, so each of these are considered mixed numbers. Okay, this would just be the fraction, but it's got a whole number attached to it. So the way we're going to go about solving those is I always like to rewrite my problem vertically. I think it's just a little easier to visualize. So if I had 3 and 5/8 plus 2 and 1/8, okay, it's kind of like when we line up addition normally. We want to keep the ones column or place value in their spot. So we have 5/8 plus 1/8. Now I'm adding fractions. I want to have the same denominator or a common denominator. They already have it, so that's good. So I'm just going to do the numerator plus the numerator. That's going to be 6/8. And then I add the whole numbers. 3 plus 2 gives me 5. So I have 5 and 6/8. Now I always want to simplify. So if I look at this fraction right here, 6/8, I can divide the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2. And so I could rewrite that then as 5 and 3/4. So again, I got the 3 by dividing 6 by 2 and the 4 by dividing 8 by 2. That's just simplifying. 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4, so 5 and 3/4 would be our answer. Okay. Now, often though, the problem won't work out quite that easily. So if we looked at another one, let's say we had 4 and 2/3 plus 3 and 2/3. Okay. Now again, you'll notice I'm starting with the problem written vertically. I'm going to start by adding the fractions. 2/3 plus 2/3, they have common denominators, so I can add the numerators. That gives me 4/3 as my fraction and 7 as my whole number. But I've noticed right here I have 4/3. So that's an improper fraction. Remember, an improper fraction is when the numerator is bigger than the denominator. And we can say that's the same thing. That means it's worth more than one whole. So if we want to visualize that, we could think of 4/3 as, right, thirds are kind of, if we're breaking things into 3. So I have 1, 2, 3, but I have more than that. So I would have to have a whole nother one, and I would have a 4th there. So we can see that 4/3 is really the same as 1 whole and 1/3. Another way we looked at turning an improper fraction into a mixed number is I could simply do the numerator divided by the denominator, 4 divided by 3. It goes in 1 whole time and leaves 1 piece left over, so 1 and 1/3. So we can see though that 4/3 is the same as 1 and 1/3. So I want to take that, I'm going to rewrite this improper fraction as a mixed number. So I could rewrite this as 7 plus 1 and 1/3. I'm saying 4/3 is 1 and 1/3. 7 plus 1 gives us 8 and 1/3. Okay. So we were adding the fractions first. If we have an improper fraction, we always have to remember to turn that into a mixed number, and we take that extra whole and we just add it to the whole that we had in the first place. All right, and then the last and third problem we will look at as a quick example is what if we have two fractions or two mixed numbers and they do not have common denominators. So let's say you had 3 and 5/8 plus 5 and 1/2. So I would immediately look at that and notice I have two different denominators. So I would have to think 8 and 2, what's a common denominator I could use? Now the least common denominator, in this case, I can see that, oh, 2 can turn into 8. So if you can turn one fraction to the other with multiplication, then you're good to go. So I'm going to take 1/2. I'm going to think, how many eighths is that going to be? Well, I would have to multiply 2 by 4. And if I multiply the denominator by 4, I also have to multiply the numerator to keep things equivalent. So 1/4 is equivalent to 4/8. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to replace that. And I'm going to rewrite my problem. 3 and 5/8 plus 5 and 4/8. Now I have my common denominators, so I can add. Remember to add the numerators first. 5 plus 4 gives me 9. My denominator stays the same. 3 plus 5 gives me 8. So I have 8 and 9/8. Now I notice that is an improper fraction. Okay, so I want to take that, this is similar to over here. I think, okay, well how many can go in? I could divide it. 9 divided by 8 gives me 1 minus 8. Gives me 1 piece left over. So 1 whole and 1/8. If I wanted to, I could also draw a picture of that. Okay, so we have 9/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus, oops, a little messy, and 1/8. So I can see it's the same thing as 1 whole and 1/8. So now I'm going to take my 8 plus 1 whole and 1/8. I'm going to add those together, and that gives me 9 wholes and 1/8 as a fraction. So again, the most important things when adding mixed numbers, you want to make sure you have common denominators. I would recommend lining up fractions, and if you end up with an improper fraction, turn that into a mixed number and add the extra whole to how many you had.